Our journey begins in the 1700s, a time when the seeds of journalism were sown in Indian soil. This era marked the advent of the printing press in India, a development that was to profoundly change the way information was disseminated and consumed. The British colonial rulers introduced the printing press, a technology that had already revolutionized Europe and was now poised to do the same in the Indian subcontinent. The establishment of the printing press led to the birth of the first newspapers in India. Among them was the Bengal Gazette, or as it was formerly known, the Calcutta General Advertiser. Published for the first time in January 1780 by James Augustus Hickey, an Irishman who had settled in India, the Bengal Gazette was a weekly newspaper. It covered a wide range of topics from local news and information about ship arrivals to gossip about the East India Company's officials. The Bengal Gazette was more than just a newspaper, it was a platform for Hickey to express his views, often critical of the British East India Company's administration. It was here that the power of the press to question authority and instigate change was first recognized. However, Hickey's persistent critiques of the colonial government led to the seizure of his printing equipment and the eventual shutdown of the Bengal Gazette in 1782. Despite the brief life of the Bengal Gazette, it had set a precedent. The following years saw the birth of several newspapers, such as the Bombay Herald in 1789, the Bombay Courier in 1791, and the Madras Courier in 1785. These newspapers served as crucial tools for the dissemination of news and information, shaping public opinion and contributing to the intellectual and cultural life of the time. These early newspapers, however, were mostly English-language publications catering to the English-speaking elite. The native population, the vast majority of whom were non-English speakers, remained largely untouched by this development. It was in the early 19th century that the first newspapers in Indian languages began to appear, starting with the Bengali weekly Samachar Darpan in 1818. This marked a significant shift in Indian journalism, bringing news and views to a larger section of the population. The newspapers of the 1800s were not just purveyors of news, they played a crucial role in shaping public opinion. They served as platforms for social reformers to spread their messages, contributing to social and cultural transformations. They also played a significant role in the development of Indian literature, as many writers and poets found a platform in these newspapers to publish their work. As the 19th century progressed, the press in India began to take on a more political role. Newspapers became platforms for political discourse, advocating for reforms and rights. They played a key role in the emerging nationalist movement, voicing dissent against British rule and advocating for self-rule. Thus, the foundation was laid for journalism in India, setting the stage for a powerful press in the years to come. From the humble beginnings of the Bengal Gazette to the proliferation of newspapers in various languages, the 1700s and 1800s marked a significant chapter in the history of Indian journalism. It was during this period that journalism in India found its voice, a voice that would grow louder and more influential in the years to come. As we move into the late 1800s, journalism becomes a beacon for freedom. The written word takes on a new power, becoming a rallying cry against oppression and a voice for the voiceless. In the hands of fearless leaders, the press transforms into a potent tool in the struggle for independence. Let's take a moment to appreciate the impact of two such leaders, Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru. Both were instrumental in harnessing the power of journalism to challenge the British colonial rule. Gandhi, with his profound belief in non-violent resistance, used the press as a platform to spread his philosophy of satyagraha, or truth force. His weekly publications, Young India and Harijan, served as mouthpieces for his ideas, reaching out to the masses and inspiring them to join the freedom struggle. Nehru, on the other hand, had a different approach. A prolific writer and an astute political commentator, he used journalism to educate the Indian populace about the realities of colonial rule and the importance of self-governance. His articles, often published in newspapers like National Herald, were insightful critiques of the British policies, offering an alternative vision of an independent India. The influence of these leaders extended beyond their individual publications. They inspired a generation of journalists who saw their profession not just as a career, but as a calling. This was an era of fearless journalism where the press was not afraid to question, to challenge, and to expose the injustices of the colonial rule. Newspapers like The Hindu, the Bombay Chronicle, and The Statesman became platforms for intellectual debates, fostering a spirit of critical thinking and democratic discourse. They played a crucial role in shaping public opinion and mobilizing support for the independence movement. But this was not an easy path. The British authorities were quick to recognize the threat posed by the Indian press. Censorship was rampant, with newspapers often seized and journalists arrested for sedition. Yet despite these challenges, the Indian press remained undeterred, their resolve only strengthened by the adversities they faced. In this era of high-stakes journalism, the press played a crucial role in bringing together a diverse nation under a common cause. They translated the abstract concept of freedom into a tangible goal, something that every Indian, regardless of their caste, religion, or region, could strive for. The press was not just a bystander, documenting the events of the freedom struggle. Rather, it was an active participant, shaping the narrative, mobilizing support, and challenging the colonial rule at every step. It was a platform for dissent, a catalyst for change, and a voice for the voiceless. As we reflect on this period, we can see how journalism and the freedom struggle were intrinsically linked. The press was not just a medium of communication, but a force for social and political transformation. It was this recognition of the power of the press that led to the inclusion of the freedom of speech and expression in the Indian Constitution, a testament to the pivotal role of journalism in the making of modern India. In the hands of passionate freedom fighters, journalism became a potent weapon against oppression. It was a medium that gave voice to the aspirations of a nation, that rallied people towards a common cause, and that challenged the status quo. It was, in essence, the heartbeat of the freedom struggle. And as we move forward, we'll see how this spirit of fearless journalism continues to shape the course of Indian history. Post-independence, the canvas of Indian journalism broadens, reflecting the nation's hopes and dreams. This era, stretching from 1947 to the 1980s, was a time of transformation for the press, as it adapted to the needs of a newly independent India. The growth of regional newspapers was a significant development. As India began to find its footing as a sovereign nation, regional newspapers rose to prominence, catering to the linguistic diversity of the country. They became the voice of the local populace, reporting on issues that mattered to the community, from politics and economics to culture and sports. The regional press played a crucial role in strengthening democracy, fostering a sense of regional identity, and promoting local languages and cultures. One cannot overlook the contribution of newspapers like the Malayala Manorama in Kerala, the Enadu in Andhra Pradesh, or the Ananda Bazar Patrika in West Bengal. These papers were not just channels of news, they were platforms for dialogue and debate, helping to shape public opinion and influencing policy decisions. They bridged the gap between the government and the people, ensuring that the voices of the masses reached those in power. The post-independence era also saw the birth of broadcast journalism in India. The establishment of All India Radio in 1936 was a significant step, but it was after independence that radio truly came into its own. All India Radio became the government's mouthpiece, broadcasting news, educational programs, and entertainment to every corner of the country. It played a pivotal role in nation building, promoting national integration, and propagating government policies and programs. Then, in the 1980s, television entered the scene. Doordarshan, the national broadcaster, began regular transmission in 1965, but it was in the 80s that television became a household name. The Asian Games of 1982, held in New Delhi, was a turning point. For the first time, events were broadcast live across the country, bringing the nation together in a shared experience. It marked the dawn of a new era in broadcast journalism, one that would forever change the way news was consumed in India. Television news had a profound impact on society. It brought the world into Indian living rooms, providing a window into global events. It made news more immediate, more visual. The nightly news bulletin became a ritual in many households, a time to gather around the television and catch up on the day's events. The post-independence era was a time of change and growth for Indian journalism. It was an era that saw the press evolve from a tool of the freedom struggle to an essential pillar of a democratic society. The growth of regional newspapers and the emergence of broadcast journalism enhanced the reach of the press, making it more accessible, more diverse. But this era was not without its challenges. The press had to navigate the complexities of a diverse and developing nation. It had to contend with government control and censorship, particularly during the emergency of 1975 to 77. Yet, it persevered, holding on to its commitment to truth and objectivity. As we look back on this period, we can see how journalism in the post-independence era reflected the aspirations of a nascent nation ready to carve out its destiny. It was a time of growth and transformation, a time when the press became the voice of the people, the mirror of society. It was an era that laid the foundation for the vibrant, diverse, and dynamic media landscape that we see in India today. Journalism in the post-independence era reflected the aspirations of a nascent nation ready to carve out its destiny. From the 1980s onwards, the media landscape undergoes a seismic shift with the advent of television and later digital media. It's an era of transformative change, a revolution in communication that has forever altered the way we consume and share news. The 1980s marked the birth of a new epoch in Indian journalism, the age of television. As television sets became more affordable, they started occupying a central place in Indian households, opening up a new avenue for news dissemination. The monopoly of print media was challenged, and the dominance of radio slowly began to fade. Television brought with it the dawn of 24-hour news channels, a concept that was initially met with skepticism. Critics questioned whether there would be enough news to fill a round-the-clock cycle. However, these channels quickly proved their worth, offering live coverage of significant events, thus bringing real-time news to the Indian viewers for the first time. The immediacy and visual impact of television news created a more urgent and emotional connection to events, making news a shared national experience. The 1990s saw the liberalization of India's economy, which led to an influx of foreign investment and a boom in the television industry. The number of news channels increased exponentially, offering viewers a wide range of options. The competition for viewership led to sensationalism and the rise of infotainment, a blend of information and entertainment. While this raised concerns about the dilution of serious journalism, it also meant that news became more accessible and engaging for a larger audience. Fast forward to the 21st century, and we see the dawn of the digital age. The internet became a game-changer for journalism, democratizing the news like never before. The rise of social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube meant that news was no longer a one-way street. Ordinary citizens could now share news, contribute to the narrative, and even challenge mainstream media. This participatory journalism has been a double-edged sword, fostering a more interactive and inclusive media environment, but also giving rise to the phenomena of fake news and misinformation. Digital media also brought about the age of mobile journalism, or mojo, where journalists use portable electronic devices for news gathering and production. This has allowed for quicker, more spontaneous coverage, particularly in remote or conflict-ridden regions. The accessibility of digital platforms has also led to the rise of independent and citizen journalists, who often cover stories overlooked by mainstream media. Blogs, podcasts, and online news portals have become powerful tools for such journalists, enabling them to reach a global audience. However, the digital revolution has not been without its challenges. The shift to online platforms has disrupted traditional revenue models, leading to financial instability for many news organizations. The proliferation of fake news and the echo chamber effect of social media have raised questions about credibility and ethics in digital journalism. Moreover, the digital divide in India, where a significant part of the population still lacks internet access, poses a major obstacle to the democratization of news. Despite these challenges, there is no denying that digital media has fundamentally transformed journalism. It has made news more immediate, more interactive, and more democratic. It has given voice to the voiceless, brought hidden stories to light, and held power to account in ways that were unthinkable in the pre-digital era. The future of journalism in India lies in navigating this digital landscape, leveraging its potential while addressing its challenges. It will require innovation, adaptability, and a steadfast commitment to journalistic ethics and principles. The digital revolution has redefined journalism, making it more immediate and immersive than ever before. As we look towards the future, Indian journalism faces a myriad of challenges and opportunities. Indian journalism, like its global counterparts, grapples with the issue of press freedom. In a world where information is power, the ability to report freely and without fear is crucial. Yet journalists often face an uphill battle, navigating the precarious terrain of political pressures, vested interests, and at times, threats to their personal safety. Moreover, the rise of fake news and misinformation is a grave concern. It's like a shadow that lurks in the corners of the digital world, ready to cast doubt and confusion. The challenge for journalists is to debunk these falsities, to shine a light on truth amidst a sea of misinformation. However, The challenges aren't just about what to report, but also about reaching the audience. The digital divide in India is stark. While urban India is digitally connected, rural India often lacks access to digital platforms. This disparity in access and the digital literacy to navigate these platforms pose a significant challenge to journalism. The question then becomes, how can journalism bridge this digital divide? And speaking of digital, let's not forget the elephant in the room, social media. It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, it democratizes information, allowing anyone to become a broadcaster. On the other hand, it disrupts traditional journalism, as news organizations compete with a barrage of user-generated content, often blurring the lines between fact and opinion. As we move forward, the future of journalism in India lies in its ability to adapt and innovate. With the rapid advancements in technology, the way we consume news is constantly changing. The future might see more immersive forms of journalism, like virtual reality, that place the audience at the heart of the story. Or perhaps the rise of AI-driven journalism, where algorithms help sift through vast amounts of data to uncover stories. In this ever-evolving media landscape, one thing is clear: the essence of journalism, its commitment to truth, and its role as a watchdog of society must remain steadfast. The formats may change, the platforms may shift, but the core principles of journalism must hold firm. And let's not forget the power of storytelling. In the end, journalism is about people, their stories, their struggles, and their triumphs. It's about giving a voice to the voiceless and holding power to account. And that will never change. It's also about diversity. India, with its multitude of languages, cultures, and voices, offers a rich tapestry for storytelling. The future of Indian journalism must strive to reflect this diversity, to tell the stories of not just the many but also the few. The road ahead is fraught with challenges but also ripe with opportunities. Indian journalism has weathered many a storm in its history, and it's poised to navigate the future with the same resilience and tenacity. In conclusion, the future of Indian journalism is not just about surviving, but thriving. It's about leveraging technology without losing the human touch. It's about bridging divides and fostering dialogue. It's about safeguarding truth in an era of post-truth. Despite the challenges, Indian journalism continues to evolve, shaping and being shaped by the collective Indian experience. As we draw our exploration to a close, we reflect on the journey of journalism in India. From its humble beginnings in the 1700s, through the pivotal role it played in the freedom struggle, to its evolution in the post-independence era and the digital revolution, journalism has been a faithful chronicler of India's history. Journalism in India, a mirror to the nation's tumultuous yet triumphant journey, continues to evolve, shaping and being shaped by the Indian experience.